Gym myths. There are so many of them, so many super common, prevalent beliefs that just aren't true. And in this episode of the podcast, the second in the series, we're going to outline 5 more super common fitness or gym myths, and then we're going to blow them to pieces. We're myth busting on this episode of the podcast. Tune in and take notes.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
Hey everybody, I'm Coach G, one of the coaching team here at CrossFit Edwardsville, on site in the office at CrossFit Edwardsville. And in this podcast and in this gym, one of the things that we take pride on is educating our clients so they are not just physically fit, but they also understand the thought process, the rationale behind things, and we augment their understanding in things like what's true and what are complete myths. This episode of the podcast, the second in the series, we're going to be busting some very common gym myths. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first myth we want to talk about today: the more you sweat, the more calories you've burned. What do I mean by that? A lot of people have had the experience of going outside on a hot day and just sweating bullets, especially if it's super humid outside. Sometimes you go out there, you work in the yard, and you're like not even working that hard, but the sweat is just pouring off of you. That is not a correlate to the calories you've burned. Sweating is just a way for your body to cool down. It does not necessarily correlate with calorie burn. The amount you sweat could also be influenced by factors like temperature, humidity, individual differences in sweat glands, whether you have hyperhidrosis or another thing. Now, that said, a lot of people find it very cathartic to leave the gym having a complete sweat going on, having sweat through every fiber of clothing that they're wearing. And certainly it's a very common thing at CrossFit Edwardsville that we leave the gym with that sense of catharsis and satisfaction. I know I got a great workout because I felt it in there. And maybe going along with that, yeah, I've sweat a ton, but it's not necessarily regular activity, and sweating are not necessarily correlates of calorie burn. Let's go to, so myth number 1, the more you sweat, the more calories you've burned. Busted. Let's go to myth number 2. Crunches are the best way to get 6-pack abs. Now, I don't want to throw any shade at crunches. I don't want to throw any shade at ab work or targeted ab work at all. It has its place. A lot of exercises that are, quote, specifically for abs are fantastic exercises. And if you like doing them, you should do them because they have some value. But if you really want to get defined abs, number 1, the kitchen. Got to win that battle too. And number 2, doing full body compound functional movements in the gym are a tremendously potent stimulus, not just for building strength, but also for giving your body a reason to develop a powerfully strong, lean, defined, bomb-proof, rock-solid core, because you need a rock-solid core to lift things well and be a functional athlete. Now, crunches and other abdominal exercises can strengthen your core muscles. They can be great accessory exercise, but that's what they should be. Probably is accessory exercise, not the main course. Achieving a 6-pack is more about reducing your overall body fat percentage through your eating, your cardio, and your strength training as a combination, especially with a bias to full body, compound, complex weightlifting movements. Let's go to the third myth. Now that we've busted myth number 2, that crunches are the best way to get 6-pack abs. Myth number 3, you need to work out every single day to see results. Now, let's go ahead and lay this out that rest and recovery are just as important as exercise for muscle growth and overall fitness. And maybe you can believe that overtraining can lead to burnout and injury. And yes, there's some truth that a balanced routine is essential. You should have a rest day, at least one every single week, so you can sustain your progress over time. Now, that said, consistency matters just as much. I think the perfect balance for anybody is doing 6 days of exercise and every week having one rest day. But you might just tackle it as, I'm going to do 4 days of exercise, 3 days of rest each week as my start point. I'm going to do that for 3 months and then build from there. That's a very valid approach as well. But the punchline is that you need to be doing regular exercise, not necessarily daily, especially if you're just starting out, but having that consistent exposure with consistent, planned, dedicated rest days every single week is a smart approach to exercise and highly recommended. So you need to work out every day to see results. Myth busted. Let's go to myth number 4. High protein diets are only for bodybuilders. Here's what we know. Protein is essential for muscle repair after a workout and for muscle growth. And it's important for anybody exercising in regular exercise, not just bodybuilders. You don't have to have a goal of getting huge, getting big in order to prioritize protein in your diet. A consistent, the right amount of intake of protein supports your fitness goals, whether they involve building muscle or losing fat, and you need it. And that's why for so many people, the right start point of looking at macros is to get enough protein every single day. And talk to one of the coaches here at CrossFit Urgent about what that looks like for you. High protein diets are only for bodybuilders. Myth busted. Let's go to myth number 5. Stretching before a workout prevents injury. This is myth number 5. Now, just like we were talking about the abs thing above, I am not saying you shouldn't stretch. I am not saying that stretching is not valuable. It is, and you should do it. And one of the cool things with the CrossFit program here at CrossFit Urgent is the coaches actually make us stretch every single training session that we do. And that is great. That is valuable. That is one of the things that over time does improve your flexibility, allows you to move better throughout any activity outside the gym or in the gym, any functional movement. Having great mobility helps a ton. And we do stretches to promote that goal. But there is no stretching that will exonerate you from the necessity of having great form on all the exercises that you do. Even if you stretch before a workout, you still have to have immaculate form in order to have more good things happen because of an exercise and fewer bad things happen because of an exercise. Now, there are some people out there believe that stretching before a workout actually reduces strength and performance. I am not one of those people. Now, but if you are reluctant to do static stretches, maybe you do a dynamic movement-based stretches before your workout. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. The punchline is that stretching before a workout and maybe after are a great idea, but they do not singularly and necessarily prevent injury. It takes having the right movement, doing the right workout, the right rep scheme, the right volume in order to get all the positive results and not have something negative happen. Now, myth number 5, stretching before a workout prevents injury. Myth busted. Understanding the myths and what is true can help you make more informed decisions about your fitness, about your routine, avoid common misperceptions to hinder your progress, and help you get the absolute most out of the program. If you have questions still, reach out to us. You can talk to any of our coaches for free at CrossFitEdwardsville.com, where you can book a no-sweat conversation with us, and we'd love to talk to you. But for now, if you've gotten some value out of this podcast, give us a like, a share, a subscribe, comment below. Tell us what gym myths you hear often. We'd love to get some fresh ideas for the next episode from you guys. Tell us what gym myths you know about, or tell us which of the myths we talked about today has affected you in some way. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you. For now, thank you for the gift of your time and your attention, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of the podcast.